What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Campfire Conversations. Today we have the lovely Lauren as promised, and we're just gonna have a little talk and see where this goes. How are you today, Lauren?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Love to be out here. A little chilly, but it's a beautiful night.
Today's been a pretty cold. It got cold quick.
Yeah.
That was the
as
thing.
Soon as that sun settled.
Yeah. Dinner was pretty good.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
We had some steak and veggie kebabs.
Yeah.
More food than we could possibly eat, but
We put quite a dent in it, though. I was kind of surprised. Looking at all the food laid out, I didn't think it was going to be, I thought we were going to have a lot more leftovers than we did.
definitely.
But that was really good. So,
Thanks.
whew. Overall, what do you think of this weekend? Pretty cool time? You enjoyed the trip?
Oh yeah, and I just enjoy being around my favorite people.
No.
You being one of them.
Oh, you're gonna make me blush. No, I really enjoyed being around you guys, and I really appreciate all the help with everything. It's been really nice. I mean, I feel like it's already been so long since we hung out, and it really hasn't been that long, but it always feels forever.
Right. Even if we meet up every month, it's not enough.
Yeah, that's the problem with all this travel and adventures. It's great, but then you meet all these awesome people from so far away, and it takes a minute to get back to them.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, I don't know how far it is exactly from me to you, but I know it's like, it has to be like 10 or 11 hours.
Yeah, at least.
Unless, well, I don't know who drives faster, me or you. What do you think?
I drive like a grandma, so
Okay.
maybe if Benjamin's driving.
Okay. So 10 hours for me or Ben driving, and 11 hours if it's
There
you
you go.
driving, maybe. What's your next adventure plan?
Well, I'm taking a bit of a break from big adventures right now. I feel like this year has been full of some big adventures. And so rounding out the end of the year, I'm opting for smaller at-home adventures or close-to-home adventures. I've gotten really into cycling within the past couple of years, and some of my big adventures coming up have to do around cycling. So actually, Monday, I'm leaving to go to Wisconsin, and I'm going to be bike packing from Wisconsin Dells to the town of La Crosse through this trail. It's called the Sparta Trail through Wisconsin. It's just going to be like a 3-day trip, nothing crazy, but a friend of mine really wanted to do this and planned it all, and I'm tagging along.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
My friends from Chicago.
Ooh, exciting. That's
Yeah.
so cool. So you said you've done a lot of big adventures this past year. Do you have a favorite or one that stands out the most?
Wow. It's really hard to pick a favorite. Just because I feel like there were so many locations in each trip or in each, like month span of just like driving. So I like to just get in my car and drive, and sometimes see where it takes me, and sometimes a planned itinerary. I would say the one place that I went to that I'm itching to get back to is Crater Lake. That's one that I was like, man, I did not get enough time there. I really want to spend more time at that national park. Unfortunately, when I was there was a lot of wildfires, and it was covered in smoke, so we couldn't stay around very long because it was just unhealthy levels, and the views weren't that great when it's covered in smoke.
Yeah.
So that is one place that I'm itching to get back to.
So you can't judge me for this question, but where exactly is Crater Lake again?
Southern Oregon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wasn't positive. That sounds like I mean, obviously it sucks that, the fires are there and the views are...
Oh gosh, it would have been spectacular.
Yeah.
What we had was still really great.
That's awesome. Now, do you backpack a good bit, right?
Yeah, I would say I'm not a pro, but I'm a seasoned backpacker who, knows a good amount.
Now, did you plan on like backpacking out, camping for a little while and hitting some other locations out there, or did you while you were out there?
Yeah,
or?
So this year alone, I've backpacked some pretty epic locations.
Okay.
As Benjamin mentioned in his interview, we did the Havasupai Indian Reservation in the Grand Canyon. Huge backpacking trip, the one that he said he kind of pushed himself a little further than he wanted, but that is just an epic location. Beautiful waterfalls, aquamarine water that's just super beautiful. So we did that trip. We backpacked Yosemite. We did classic Yosemite, Half Dome, Clouds Rest, camped in Little Yosemite Valley. Did some really great stuff there and spent some time in Yosemite Valley afterwards. Then we backpacked the Redwoods. We backpacked. What else have we done this year? I did Isle Royale with some other friends. That was a great backpacking trip. And then the most disappointing one is Benjamin, I, and some other friends got some permits to backpack the Encampments in Washington. Now, if you know anything about the Encampments, they are incredibly difficult. They're probably the hardest backpacking permit to get.
Okay.
Like 1-2% of people get these permits.
Wow.
Well, one of my friends basically won the lottery and got a permit for us. And so it was once in a lifetime trip. We're going to backpack the Encampments. It's beautiful mountain, alpine lakes, just stunning views. But I hiked about 7 miles into the backcountry, woke up the next morning extremely ill. I actually had a sore throat, so sore I could barely swallow.
Wow.
And I was 7 miles in the backcountry, just got really nervous and scared, so I had to hike out while my friends continued on. Luckily, Benjamin hiked out with me. But that was really tough and really disappointing. It didn't go how we wanted. You know, we got these once-in-a-lifetime permits, and then... So I got to go back.
Yeah, definitely. So I feel like when something like that happens, it almost like, it challenges you to do like the right thing, right? Like to make that call that you'll have another chance to go back if, obviously, if some certain things work out.
I think we will.
But if you don't do it that way, you might not have a chance to go back. Backpacking can be dangerous, I guess.
Yeah,
is what I'm getting
it
at.
is.
So
You
if
have
you get
to
out
make the
there,
right call.
you get out there too far, and now you can't go back, and that's a scary thing.
Yeah, heaven forbid something happened, my throat closed, and I couldn't breathe in the backcountry, and then, that could be really dangerous.
Yeah.
I really, really wanted to just push through and suck it up and keep going, but I knew I would have been miserable the whole time and wouldn't be able to enjoy it. So.
No. Well, I have some vibes. I think you're just going to get lucky and get another permit pass.
I've had some pretty good luck with permitting, so we'll see.
Have you had any other situations similar to that where, you had to either end a trip early or maybe just cancel a trip altogether because of conditions or like how you feel?
Another backpacking trip Benjamin and I went on, we just did Southern Illinois in the Shawnee National Forest, and I think it was like a year and a half ago, there was an extreme drought, and it just was not raining. And so we planned out sort of a rough place we wanted to camp. Our first night we were able to find fresh flowing water. Our second night the creeks were dried up. Ooh. Like we just could not find a place to camp that had fresh flowing water that we felt comfortable drinking from because we didn't want anything stagnant. There's horse trails there with horse poop and all those types of things. So we just didn't feel safe when we had to hike out and end that trip early because we just could not find it. We had two choices: either go back to our original campsite, which we felt like, well, we were already there, we wanted to go somewhere new, or hike out. So we hiked out and stayed at an established campground with a water pump that last night. So it wasn't so much an emergency situation of someone getting sick, but like having to end the trip early just because the conditions weren't comfortable and we didn't want to get sick on bad water.
Yeah, that's how the night where you pivoted and stayed at the established campground. Was it still a good time?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was great. We still got to do a lot of hiking. It was sort of our first trip out for the season, so we were trying to make, testing all the gear, sort of getting everything set so we can do other trips in the future. So it was just kind of our close to home, like shakedown kind of trip. So it was still great, but it accomplished our goals, which was to just get out and kind of practice and warm up for the season.
Nice. Yeah. It's always nice when you get to, especially first couple camp trips of the season, you get that new gear and you're like, I want to try this. I got to see what does work, what doesn't work, and all that fun stuff. Sometimes it's a little intimidating depending on what the kind of trips you're doing, because I'm putting full faith in this new piece of gear that I got and leaving the tried and true at home. I usually end up taking both the new and the old, but I do different kind of camping where
you can't do that backpacking.
Yeah, backpacking. I assume you're not taking I'm not taking both chairs to see which one I like more.
You really gotta cut that weight down.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if you're doing like a little baby one and just testing it out, but I would assume you're not going to add that extra weight for even like a 7-10 mile.
I personally don't. I'm one of those, like, the lighter the better. I'd rather go with a slight inconvenience of not having something than carrying it, just because it's a lot.
Yeah.
I'd be very interested to see what you'll be like as a backpacker when we get you out there.
That's going to be a problem.
I think you'll have a hard time narrowing things down for your first trip or so. I'm
going to be jacked. I'm going to be carrying 90 pounds worth of gear into the backwoods.
Please don't do that. I will not. You know what? I won't even take you in the backwoods if you do that. Nope.
We're going to be like 30 feet in.
Don't embarrass me that way. No.
30 feet in, and I'm going to be like, oh, don't need this, don't need that.
It's okay to be heavy backpacking. Beginning backpacking, you're going to be heavy, but you just got to,
Yeah. Would you say, what would you say the hardest part for you is when you're like narrowing down your gear?
It's tough because it doesn't feel that tough anymore because I've learned how to live with so little. So like now it just comes like natural, like, oh, I don't need that. But at first it was the what if. It was always the what if, like, what if I need this thing? What if this situation comes up? And you really just have to be as prepared as possible. But at the end of the day, if a real emergency situation happens, you might just have to call for help in any situation. So you would just have to remember, like, hey, I'm going to have the essentials for minor issues. And luckily, that's all I've ever had was minor issues in the backcountry. But yeah, I mean, it's just really like trying to push away those, like, well, I might need this. Instead of like, I absolutely need this item.
Yeah. Now, you said if you need to call for an emergency, you'd be ready for that, right? Have you had to call for help? And do you carry anything like an inReach or anything like that for emergencies like that? Or do you just kind of go where you would have service, or how does that work?
No, I've never had to call search and rescue or any sort of emergency. Knock on wood, right? Luckily, I have been able to self-rescue. So obviously self-rescue is your number one choice. That's what you want to do. You want to self-rescue if you can. And I guess I technically self-rescued when I got sick in the backcountry and had to hike out, right? I'm not going to call search and rescue for a sore throat. So I was able to hike out. But for some reason, you have a broken leg, things like that, or just an injury that prevents you. I do not carry an inReach. I think that in a lot of situations, they're unnecessary because there's people in a lot of situations, there's people everywhere. Yeah. Now, I don't say don't carry one because some people, it makes them feel very safe. It makes them feel very secure. But iPhones are becoming more and more satellite-based where you can use those through an iPhone. But yeah, I have considered it. I've considered getting one. Just in case, especially as I get more experience and I'm going to more remote places. But they can become a problem with people who aren't using them properly, who are calling search and rescue when it's not a true emergency, so there's those problems too. And I don't think I would contribute to that problem, but it's also, an issue.
Yeah, I feel like that would... kind of like the boy who cried wolf. Like,
right, exactly.
Like too many people were continuously calling when you don't really need help, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, another one using an inReach that needs some help. And
it'd be really cool because they have like texting. You could text through it even when you don't have cell service, just to let people know you're okay. And might be an investment I make at some point.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, technology lately has been getting cheaper and cheaper because the newer versions coming out, and then the better versions are coming out. So you can get some like pretty good stuff for pretty cheap because it's a couple generations older, but still does a lot of the stuff. So
exactly. I feel like just as good.
Yeah, that would be probably more than likely something I would do when I would get into backpacking, because I like you said, I'm one of those people that like the peace of mind just in case. I know, not even for my peace of mind mostly, but like my parents.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say how old I am, but But I still have a really good relationship with my parents, or a really close relationship with my parents, where if I'm going on a trip, I let them know where I am. And I think that would be something that would make them feel better, just because, I'm traveling states away and sometimes across the country.
Yeah, and you don't get service a lot of the times.
Yeah, so when I was out in Montana last summer, I had service like nowhere. I had to be at an established place on the Wi-Fi to have service.
Absolutely.
So I do think that, different travels, you're going to do different things.
So what'd you do in those situations? Just let people know where you were headed each day?
Yeah. Hey, this is where I'm going. This is when I plan on being back. Sometimes, depending on what I'm going to do. So, if I'm going out to do a lot of photos, I might be like, hey, this is when I plan on being back. But if it's really cool, I'll stay till this time.
Absolutely.
But definitely give that, this is when I'll be back at the latest time also. Just because, okay, if you say you're going to be back at 9 and it's 10:30, especially out there, it can pretty sketchy pretty quick, right?
Yeah. One of my favorite memories is wolf hunting with you in Yellowstone. That was a great time.
That was awesome.
Not hunting, wolf spotting through the... We're not hunting wolves. I said that wrong.
We're going to get canceled before we get started on
this. Spotting with the telescope.
No, that was really cool. That was such a cool experience. Such a cool experience. Just being out in Yellowstone in general was cool, but to be able to share it with a friend who came through and, we got to do some cool stuff. It was neat.
Exactly. Showed me around.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember how long I was there at that point, but I know it wasn't a ton of time. But I feel like I had a couple little secret local spots.
Yeah, you were there for a little while. You were there for a couple weeks already.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a cool time. So basically what you're saying is, I was your favorite trip.
You're just my favorite,
Yeah, well, I try.
You're a fun person to spend time with. Oh. No, but just you made it memorable because seeing a wolf in Yellowstone is a really cool experience, especially because of the history there with wolves. Yeah. So that just really made it special. The fact that we actually saw one, and we took us a while, but we finally spotted one.
It did take us quite a little while. Well, thank you. First off, that was really sweet. Okay, so a little bit of a weird segue, but have any of the trips that you've been on taught you anything that you've taken away from, your outdoor life and camping into your personal life, whether it be getting through a difficult situation or just any life's challenges?
I actually had a very meaningful experience backpacking. 3 years ago now, I believe. I really got into solo travel. I was getting out of a past relationship. I knew some people that were outdoorsy, but, not able to take a month off and just travel with me. So I said, I'm going to do this myself. I'm tired of, waiting for people to do the things I want to do. I'm just going to do them. And I thought I would hate solo travel because I'm pretty extroverted and I like people, but I actually loved it. And the meaningful moment I had there, I already was a bit of a backpacker before this trip. I've gone on a few backpacking trips, but I wouldn't say I was really experienced, but I had some basics. And I originally signed up for a group trip with a guide because I was too nervous to do it alone, to backpack Yosemite for my first time. I've actually backpacked Yosemite twice. And there was some wildfires and the trip ended up, and I guess it had to have a minimum of people sign up. So between the wildfires and no one else signing up for this guided trip, it got canceled. And I normally don't like guided trips because I like to just do things on my own terms, but I was too scared to go into the backcountry alone. I was like, I'm a woman. I'm still pretty new at this. I don't know what I'm doing. But I decided, this was near the end of a month-long trip where I was camping and hiking by myself, and I felt really strong. I was like, wow, I camped and hiked and drove all the way to California on my own. Heck, I'm going to give it a try. Yeah. I'm going to backpack solo. And I hiked into the backcountry. I planned on spending 2 nights. I spent the first night in a pretty populated area with a lot of backpackers just to feel a little safe. Got up the next morning nice and early, did some summits, did some hikes around, came back to camp, made lunch, and I started heading back towards the car with the intention of camping one more night on my way back because it was quite a long hike. I ended up letting fear get the best of me and hiking way too many miles that day to hike out of the backcountry, because I was like, you know what? I did it. At that point, I said, you know what? I did it. I spent one night alone. So mission accomplished. I'm letting fear get the best of me. So I'm going to hike out and, you know, go stay at an established campground. Kind of like that other time where there was no water. This one was, I was solo and new and just felt nervous, you know, between other people and bears. There's some things to fear.
Yeah.
But that one night I spent was just so meaningful, because even though I kind of chickened out on that second night, I felt so strong that I was able to do that one night, that I was able to do it. And just like the ability to survive and be out there alone, and take care of myself and, you know, be able to, do what I did. And that felt amazing. It was like really empowering.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Especially as a female being solo, sometimes you have added fears.
Yeah, so to go off of that, I feel like I should have been more aware of situations in which females would feel less safe, right? I mean, I've grown up in the woods, right? Not in the woods, but like pretty rural areas.
Right.
A lot of the mentality there is, you know, you take care of the women around you, and the mindset is all protect.
Yeah.
So in my experience for a long time, the women in my life always felt safe around the men that were around.
Right.
But then you start to travel and you get into situations and you realize how much sketchiness is out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's hard to adjust to sometimes, when it's like, oh, well, I was just being nice, but now you're in a situation where it's sketchy. So I feel like I should have adjusted to that, but that's very off topic.
Yeah, I think my biggest advice I give to men who like want to be kind to women traveling solo, sometimes just recognizing that woman's alone. I'm just going to occasionally glance over, make sure she's good, but I'm going to let her be, especially if it's like a group of dudes or like a solo dude. She might feel uncomfortable, unfortunately. I'd say if you're like with a mixed group of women and men, sure, go ahead, say hi, invite her over. But some women have told me, like, men as well-meaning as possible sometimes feel uncomfortable because now they're noticed, right? Someone's staring at them, someone's saying hi to them, and they're like, oh, well, now I'm noticed and he knows I'm alone. And, you know, so my biggest advice is, if you care and you really want to, you know, just make sure everyone's good, just keep an eye out and, you know, sometimes not even saying hi, but maybe just like saying hi if if you pass each other
Makes sense.
In a situation. But that's the biggest thing I could say.
Yeah,
and it sucks that the world has to be that way, that people have to fear, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll talk for another 45 minutes if we get on that topic.
No, for real.
But yeah, I thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the advice. Do you have any other advice for either women, female traveling, or men who are, I don't want that. We'll just stick with women, female traveling.
So like solo traveling?
Yeah.
Don't let fear take over.
Okay.
There's a lot of things you could be afraid of. There's so many things you could be afraid of. I mean, especially my first trip, there were so many fears I had about so many different situations. But don't let it stop you from doing the thing. Obviously be smart and be aware and take precautions. But like some people, they're so afraid, they take bear spray and a knife, or, oh, I'm not going in the backcountry without a gun. I'm not, okay, I understand in certain situations, like if you're in Alaska, you need a firearm. I mean, that's just a thing. But like some situations, bear spray's enough, or you don't even need it because, the situation's not, you just have to be smart, but take what you're comfortable with to be safe, but don't let it stop you, and don't let the fear take over. Obviously, my second night in that backpacking trip, I let fear take over and I didn't spend a second night, but you know what? It didn't let it stop me. I did that one night and I felt accomplished. So just do the thing.
Yeah.
Just do it.
I'd like to piggyback off that for a second, if you don't mind. I think something that's really important for people to realize, especially when it comes to camping and, well, not even just camping, but doing new things, is like you're saying, the doing something
Right.
is an amazing feeling.
Right.
You didn't accomplish your 2-day goal, but your 1 day got you into it. And now you've gone how much further, right?
Yeah.
So like, and I can't imagine you would have had that same, you might have still had that itch to go do the more backpacking, but it might not have been the same kind of confidence to do more trips if you would have, bailed on that first night. Like if you wouldn't have done it. And people
Right.
are different. So like you might go out there and be like, oh, I'm doing 3 days now. And the other person might be like, I'm never doing it again.
Right.
So, but
Absolutely.
I do think that's an important takeaway just for life is you do the thing, start it.
Do the scary thing. Do
It's
the hard thing.
Terrifying sometimes.
If
But
it turns out not so good, I mean, you did it.
Yeah.
You tried it. You took a risk.
yeah, you'll never know exactly how much you can get accomplished if you never try anything. So,
Right.
and then again, also piggybacking, being proud of yourself for the attempt, for doing more than you have done previous, not necessarily reaching your goal, but taking the steps toward it.
Yeah.
So, I feel like I've talked your ear off enough for tonight. I would like to offer a little toast, if you wouldn't mind doing a little sip with me.
Yeah, small one.
Yeah, baby sip.
Baby sip.
This is the Schmallow Toasted Marshmallow Bourbon.
Oh my.
Don't call it mellow. We did have this another episode, but I absolutely love it. So
Okay.
I wanted to share.
I'll try a little sip.
If you're okay with it, you say when. I'm gonna try to give you like a little.
That's good.
Good.
In my adventure mug.
There's someone out there that's watching this is like, that didn't even count as a sip.
I know, right?
But Lauren, thank you so much for being here. Not only today, right now, but this weekend, and for everything you've ever helped me, done, just for being you. You're an amazing person, so thank you.
Uh-huh.
Cheers.
Cheers. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Oh,
That's pretty good, right?
little sweetness, little. Yeah.
That is all we got for today's episode. I really hope you guys enjoyed, and I would really appreciate it if you're watching this on YouTube, if you drop a comment thanking Lauren for being here. I think she deserves it.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Oh, I didn't even tell her to say that. That was awesome. Thank you guys so much, and until next time, peace.